I love the podcast.
The best music.
I like to hear the news updates.
It's on the Odyssey app.
Wherever I'm going, whatever I'm doing.
Your audio toolbox.
I love it because it's so portable.
Gotta download the Odyssey app for sure.
From KDAWN.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
Good morning, Las Vegas. What's going on? Welcome to the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Also streaming on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. You get that app and you'll win a gold medal too. Way to go, USA. Yeah. Sucks to be you, Canada. Fix your attitude. But way to go, guys. Awesome win there. But also, by the way, we're streaming on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Seeing those numbers go up too. Certainly appreciate that. Keep on tuning in. We really love to have you along for the ride. And just go to Mark Hoke Show on X. Give us a follow there. YouTube and Facebook. The Mark Hoke Show. Also the Mark Hoke Show on Instagram and TikTok. And you'll be able to catch us wherever you want. It's pretty amazing. But we have a huge show lined up for you. Later on, we're going to hear from renowned pro wrestling historian and author Brian Solomon, who just has an award-winning book, Irresistible Force, Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon. We're going to get to talk about him, about the book, the legend Gorilla Monsoon, and some other topics in pro wrestling too. Pretty interesting guy. So if you haven't heard from Brian, who, by the way, just helped out Jim Cornette on his show, you're going to enjoy it. So wrestling historians and Monsoon fans, make sure you get ready because that's going to be a lot of fun. I should be getting to that in hour number 2. Let's bring in my pal, my buddy, my brother from another mother, Coach Rosey. What's going on?
Good morning, Las Vegas and the world. How are you? It's a beautiful Sunday morning, and I'm excited to always talk about my favorite sport, wrestling.
There you go. Basketball is not your favorite sport?
Well, basketball came after professional wrestling, so basketball now is a passion project. Professional wrestling is purely entertainment. There
you go. All right. Coach, so much going on this week. And boy, I'll tell you, I thought we were going to get to talk about what happened in the ring again right away. But we don't. And by the way, hold on. We got in the chat box. Coach Keith Morrison, USA, US. Yeah.
My man from Philly will always come through. Coach Keith is a historic football coach in Philly, coached a lot of NFL players, and know what it takes to be a champion. You're an Olympian in my book, Coach Keith.
There you go. We'll keep mentioning that because the Canadians just they got a little negative. It wasn't good. But negative story here as the Vince McMahon Janelle Grant story hit the headlines again. A couple things happened on this, Coach, this week. Number one, the parties, including WWE, have agreed to put this in front of a judge to see if it's going to go to arbitration or stay in public court. That takes place in June. So if it goes to arbitration, they're going to sit down with somebody and come up with a solution. If not, goes to a jury trial. The other thing that happened was Ms. Grant made her first public appearance since all this happened. She did a speech at the Connecticut Alliance to End Sexual Violence. About a 15-minute speech. And Coach, I don't know if you got to watch that whole thing or not?
I did.
Did you did? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Let me start with your impressions then. You listened to her talk. What did you think about everything that she threw out there? Because man, it was there were darts flying in every direction.
Yeah, definitely. She is a woman scorned. She definitely put up with a lot of stuff that should never happen to a woman. So I can understand her feelings toward the whole matter. It'll be interesting to see what TKO or Vince or whoever on their side is going to say, but she definitely put her cards on the table, and it's interesting to see what's going to happen from here. I think arbitration is great for both parties because I think obviously Vince did some things that he doesn't want out in the public, and I don't know about Janelle, maybe something happened there, but when it comes to arbitration, whatever happens in the arbitration court will never be heard in public. And usually in arbitration, there is some type of settlement. So she'll get some type of payment. WWE and Vince and all them will probably have to pay less than they'll have to do in the courts. So it looks good for both sides.
Well, I found this whole thing very intriguing because, well, number one, Grant and her legal team have been very adamant. They want this to go to a trial. And all of a sudden now they've changed their tune a little bit. And look, if you know, remember when we covered the original complaint, and if you haven't read it, geez, Zoo, man, just some stuff that's really hard to read. Don't want to start even trying to list any of the things off that took place between Miss Grant and Vince. This is my problem with the whole thing from the start, and I'm gonna say it again, is especially if Vince is in his rebuttal to the complaint, saying that she said that she was in love with him and she was even trying to smooth things out when they were signing the original NDA and getting the agreement. And really damning, Coach, in a lot of ways, is this list of gifts. And I'm sure it's just a partial list. Not going to hit them all, but medical care, cosmetic services, a lot of gift cards, $20,000 towards surgery, jewelry, clothes, a BMW. I mean, just a lot of stuff. And I think that those kind of things really put her in a spot where, you know, you had that power dynamic, and it's not good. The relationship between these coworkers shouldn't have happened. It's completely inappropriate. But at the same time, you know, what this may come down to was it consensual or was it not? And stuff like this, Coach, doesn't help your case, wouldn't you say?
The court of public opinion is sometimes a lot stronger than the actual court system. You know, so does it look suspect? Possibly. Do we know if it's 100% true? Maybe. So until everybody gets to wherever they're going to get, whether it's arbitration or court, it's really hard to figure out who really is telling the truth in all this, because both parties are going to try to put out information that makes the other side look bad. Some of it could be polished up, some of it could be fake, and some of it could be true. So it'll be interesting to see. But in the court of public opinion, a lot of people will say, if you're taking that stuff, you know, why take it if you're really being hurt? Stand up for yourself first. But I don't know what to believe at this point.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that, because I think that I was really surprised that she came out and did this speech. And quite frankly, I found it somewhat rambling. If I'm doing a speech about NDAs, I'm probably not leading it off with, I tried to commit suicide. I've only been out of my house 10 times. You know, it seemed like a sympathy play to me. But man, you're in the middle of a lawsuit. And if you've ever been involved in anything like this at all, whether it's workplace or, any type of legal action that you have going against you, usually the strategy, coach, is keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. Don't give anybody any ammunition and slip up where you're going to put yourself in a position where you could lose because of a public comment you made. I just found the whole thing really strange. And the speech about NDAs, that they're horrible and, they cause more workplace violence. While I kind of understand the perspective on it, it's like, but you're both trying to just make this go away. And that's how NDAs work. Now, should WWE have taken more of an action against Vince? Absolutely. He had a ton of these settlements. But man, this is a convoluted mess. I don't know if there's any other way to say it.
Can you tell me the name of the group again that she spoke in front of?
She spoke in front of the Connecticut Alliance to End Sexual Violence. And the theme of the speech was how NDAs help bring along workplace violence and protect people that are doing these kind of things.
Well, maybe her goal isn't really only financial. Maybe her goal is to be a true advocate for people that have had this happen to them in the workplace. She spoke to a group that was definitely compassionate towards her needs. We'll have to see where it goes after the court hearing or arbitration. Is she going to be, a staunch advocate, go on Capitol Hill and go try to get laws put in place to stop these things? That's all in the future, but it could go either way. She had a compassionate crowd. Maybe she wanted to try to get a pop from the crowd because she knew that they were supporting her. Or we'll see. Maybe she'll become the Rosa Parks of NDA. Yeah,
it is. And I'm trying to be sympathetic towards her too, because when you're if you haven't spoken to the public in a couple of years, I'm sure she was very nervous when she spoke, and she sounded odd. But I think this is probably going to end up in arbitration. I think they're going to agree to a little more money than Vince would have had to pay before if he hadn't stopped the payments. And I think that's where it's going to die. I just don't think that she wants this out in the court, in a jury, just because, she's going to have to prove that this was a non-consensual, it was all work pressure and everything else. And there's a lot of things there, coach, that I just like, I don't know. I think I'd take the money and run.
Good point.
Yeah. So interesting stuff there. So we'll see what happens in June with Janelle Grant and Vince McMahon. Fascinating. Let's see what else. Let me see what we got. Actually, I tell you what, it's probably a good spot to stop and take a break. So we take a break, and when we come back, we had a little fun up in New York, didn't we? MJF saying hi to the gang at House of Glory. What happened up there? What's the fallout? We'll find out. Let's come right back around to the Mark Hoke Show. I'm Mark Hoke, Coach Rosey. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back. USA, baby.
Paid for by government. The 1986 to 2021 United States Silver Eagle, the first ever U.S. silver dollar minted in 99.9% pure silver and is the best-selling coin in the world. These original and historic silver dollars have ceased production forever. They will never be minted again. For a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government-struck silver dollars are being released to the public. You can own a full pound of original U.S. silver dollar coins featuring Lady Liberty and the heraldic eagle, never to be struck again. Guaranteed. Call now to secure original United States Silver Eagles by the pound. The first U.S. silver dollars ever to be struck in 99.9% pure silver. Plus, receive a free bonus, an American Collector's Pack valued at over $40 and free shipping with every order. Call 1-800-560-6468 now to secure your full pound bag of United States Silver Eagle coins before they are gone. That's 1-800-560-6468.
Empower. After wanting one for years, Kevin is finally enjoying his new hot tub.
This is the life.
He worked with Empower to help him get good at money, so now he could be a little bad.
Oh, no, not my phone.
Oh, Kevin. Kevin's phone may be in hot water, but his finances aren't. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
1015 FM KDAWN.
This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
All right, let's get back to it. The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment here on the Mark Hoke Show. Oh, you bet your star-spangled butt. Having a great time. And oh, man. Coach, the Canadian Tears are just starting to flood the northern border. I think they're melting some of that snow away.
Yeah, I'm watching the highlights right now. I didn't know they did overtime 3-on-3. That's cool.
Yeah. Yep. So huge win. Jack Hughes gets his name in the record books. Great win, boy.
Won't have to pay for any drinks for the next couple of years.
A couple of years, he gets to go to Mikey Ruzioni land, man.
Yep.
So congratulations, USA Hockey Team, once again. Oh, Coach, House of Glory making some news again.
Yep.
As Zilla Fatu got a chance up in New York to challenge for the AEW World Championship. MJF comes in there. Andrade wrestled a match down there too. Got some more ice chance. That was interesting. But let's focus on the match. MJF gets the victory. Looked like a pretty good one. Kind of a reach out to the bloodline a little bit, sending a message that got mentioned quite a bit in the lead up to this. And MJF even did, when he does his little face bump with his frontal region, did a yeet when he hit Zilla with it. What'd you think of this? Pretty fascinating. MJF is going out to House of Glory and defending the title and, calling out the bloodline a little bit.
Why not? Bring back the old WCW, WWEF days where they acknowledged each other. AEW is doing a good job of slowly starting to create some type of war between the two. You saw the interview at the Super Bowl between Seth and MJF. So maybe WWE would have to approve that to go out. So maybe we're going to get some opportunities where they're going to acknowledge each other, and who knows where what can go for there. But Zilla Fatu is one of the greatest independent wrestlers we have in the business, and for him to get the endorsement from MJF is telling me that we'll see him in AEW very soon.
See, that's one of the 2 points I want to make. Was one, does Zilla end up in AEW, or does he follow the rest of the family into WWE? I think it's a fascinating question. And Tony may have been saying, what, get a close up look at this guy, Max. Let's see what he's got, and certainly performed very well.
Yeah, I don't know. Did Zilla get into trouble like Jacob?
I don't believe so.
Okay, good, because WWE took a chance on Jacob, and look what he did there. I don't think Zilla had those same issues, but he's not getting the same push. I think if AEW puts a little interest in him, he will be with his bloodline brothers and cousins in the WWE. So this might be a competition that's really going to bring out the war.
Yeah, that would be a battle. That is for sure. But one thing, Coach, that you also mentioned about acknowledging each other, and I can't help but think about the possibility of crossover matches or a super card. And look, I know if you just got the wrestlers together, they'd be able to do something awesome. The logistics of doing something like that would be nightmarish. You would certainly have to do it at a place like AT&T Stadium because the tickets would be ridiculous. But to coordinate something like that, who's going to produce what? What are the creative teams are going to have to stay talking to each other for months and months when maybe they're trying to focus on what they've got going on, like things like, I don't know, WrestleMania and All In. But I will say this, the pro wrestling world has shrunk so much. It used to be nobody, like WWE wouldn't talk to anybody else. Didn't care about the indies, didn't care about what was going on in New Japan or any Ring of Honor. But those times have changed. And I can't help but think how much fun a super card between AEW and WWE would be. I mean, do you see any possibility, Coach, that could happen?
Zero. Is it a dream? Yeah, it's a dream. But, I don't think TKO, Vince, all the group over at WWE, whether it's run by TKO or not, Vince's roots are still in that system. And he would never in his life do a group show like that with another organization and give them a rub. Not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would either, but boy, it brings up some dream matches. Boy, could you see MJF and Roman Reigns hooking it up? I mean, just MJF walking into a WWE event, or Reigns going to an AEW event, or MJF going to a WWE event would just blow everything up. That would be insane. By the way, Coach Keith Morrison and Chapbox love when AEW champions go to the independents and wrestle. Reminds me of the old territory days. I actually watched a match. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was. It was a really good match. And we'll get to that other one in a little bit. But and Coach, I think that it also shows some of the changing dynamic in pro wrestling that when we started watching it, and mentioned the territory days, guys, there would be some mainstays in each region, but then people just kept moving on, so their act didn't get stale. And I think that's we see so much discussion about, oh, this guy's contract up, where are they gonna go, and then people get mad if they leave the one that they like. It's gonna happen more and more. It really is. It's something that's inevitable, and people want to keep their act fresh.
Right. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch Collision last night, but on the Collision episode, AEW not only referenced the match, they had footage from the match, brought up House of Glory, and had a backstage vignette between Andrade and MJF. So to see a mainstream wrestling organization give an indie a rub was great, because we all are one wrestling community. We don't need the territorialism or the haters that only look out towards one organization. If wrestling is going to be what we want it to be, everybody needs to get along. So it was refreshing to see.
Yeah, it is. It is something else. That is for sure. So some pretty interesting stuff happening out there at House of Glory. By the way, JD from New York got, that wasn't like nice heat. That was go away heat. So JD better be on his toes, but he made it back there. Speaking of collision, we got another political statement that happened there too. Don't know if you noticed this or not, but Thunder Rosa came out with this blanket that said Mujer Mexicana Migrante, meaning Mexican migrant woman. So now Thunder Rosa's in on the act. Coach, this is going to get out of hand. I don't think, once again, I don't think people understand that you're going to start turning people off. Is Tony just going to let everybody put up every political statement that they want when they do an entrance?
That's up to him. But she's living in San Diego now. She's playing to the crowd, and it got her a reaction in her first match back. So was it something political? Who knows? Was it to try to play up to the crowd? Who knows? But Tony's allowing it, and it's his organization. So until he puts his foot down, it's going to continue to happen.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at that, but well, off we go. Let's shift over to WWE a little bit. They have got some issues over there, and now they just announced that they are blacking out Elimination Chamber watch parties. I don't know if you saw that one, but they're doing the same thing they're doing in Vegas to WrestleMania. A lot of people are furious about this in Chicago. To a point, I kind of get why you would do it for WrestleMania, but for an Elimination Chamber, you're going to shut it all down? I mean, look, people hate these blackouts in baseball and other sports, but what are they thinking, Coach? Because this is not helping their PR. I mean, looking at social media, I didn't see one person that said, "Yeah, this is a good idea." No, nobody. They're ticked.
Yeah, I don't know if WWE really cares about the internet wrestling community. I know that they believe it's only 10% of the wrestling fans. But I know my boys up in Chicago still have those old descramblers from the 80s and the 90s, and they'll be able to get the watch parties done if they need to. But to block them out, it isn't a good look. But you really are the people that go to the watch parties are not really the people that WWE is interested in. Even though we are the ones that are the most passionate about wrestling, they want to reach out to that 90% of the fans that aren't as invested in this as we are, who probably wouldn't go to a bar or a watch party. They would either watch it at home with their family, they'd go to the event. So, it hurts us, but for their bottom line, that's really all they care about. At least now they're staying true to what they believe in. They're not flip-flopping.
Yeah, they're definitely not flip-flopping. I'm just, with all the negative reaction they've been getting to ticket prices recently, I don't know if you saw, but the floor seats at Backlash are $700 min. I mean, wow, that's a lot. And this situation that's going on in Las Vegas at the moment, the flash ticket sale that they did last weekend over the holiday totally bombed out, did not help at all. And now they're actually reporting that for both nights, they've only sold a little over 36,000 tickets. They have it set up for 43,000, but Allegiant Stadium holds 66-ish. And that's what they sold that out last year, but they are down 19.3% from this point last year. What is it going to take for TKO to realize that, maybe we're not doing something right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe just a failure, the WrestleMania failure, if it continues with these, with the sales, and maybe that'll wake them up. But until they get punched in the face, they're not going to change their ways. They must have some type of algorithm or mathematical equation that shows and proves to them that selling tickets at $700-800 a pop, even if it's not filled up, will bring in more people. Who knows? But they'll be able to doctor up the camera angles to make it look sold out. But until they take a hit, they're not going to change.
Yeah, and Coach Keith Morrison again. These blackouts are not a good look for WWE. TKO is getting greedy and greedy. They don't black out UFC events, so why are you doing this to wrestling? And Coach, you bring up a good point, and I actually had seen a social media post that was talking about what's just overall what's happening in Las Vegas with the tourism being down. But the point of it, they said that they'd rather get one guy in here that is going to spend $500,000 than 1,000 tourists because they make more money. And it's a fine line to walk, but I don't know, man. I just think that they've lost it a little bit on this, and they're forgetting about the casual fan. But I understand the philosophy, but they're going to have to. They're risking going over the supply and demand curve down to the side that goes this way.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be in Vegas for WrestleMania week from Wednesday on. I doubt I'll be at either of the WrestleMania nights because I'm more excited about seeing the plethora of independent shows that are at the Horseshoe. They have events going on and promotions that are having big time shows there every single night, every single afternoon, even some mornings. So you're going to get an opportunity, if you are a true wrestling fan, when you get to Vegas, to see the up and coming guys that might have a chance of going to AEW and WWE. You might only have to pay between $50 and $100 for a ticket in an intimate setting, and you might have the greatest night of your life in professional wrestling. We were at WrestleMania last year, and yeah, it was an exciting event, but it's a production to get to that arena or that stadium. It's a production to park. You're walking miles and miles. If you're taking an Uber, you're waiting 2 or 3 hours for it to get there. So maybe people don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. Just go to the indie shows. Get your fix of some great professional wrestling. You'll see some of the up-and-coming stars, some unusual matches, and some unusual concepts. Fourth Rope will be great. A lot of the other organizations will be there. I know the Hardys are going to be wrestling at the Horseshoe, I believe, once or twice that time, and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, and certainly there's going to be so many other things going on than just WrestleMania here in Las Vegas. But one thing that everybody's saying, the prices are up here. And look, I'm just going to say this: there are plenty of places in the Las Vegas Valley to stay other than the Strip, and I don't know why people don't understand that. Sometimes there's hotels that are right off the Strip that are good. There's hotels all across the city. Just an example, I live near Santa Fe Casino, which is up in the northwest part of the city, right off the interstate. It's a quick 15-20-minute drive to get down to the Strip. Now in Santa Fe Casino, reasonable prices. There's a couple of pretty good restaurants in there and a lot of good places to eat right around it too. And there's places like that all over Las Vegas. You just got to search a little bit. So, people are saying the food costs so much. Well, don't buy a custom candy bar, which I don't know if you saw that video circulating or not, for $13. Go over to a Walgreens or a Walmart that's 5 minutes away from the Strip. Stock yourself up. There's plenty of ways around this. So, once again, I will offer my travel tips if anybody wants them. But yeah, this is a fascinating time. Let me just ask you one question before we go to break, Coach. Do you think they're going to sell it out? And I don't mean at the 43,000 level. Do you think they're going to sell the stadium out?
No. Unless they do like 2 or 3 days before, if they're 10 or 15,000 tickets lower, give them to people for $25 a pop, then they will, but if they're going to continue to even keep those upper level tickets above $100 or $200, I sat up there for the Royal Rumble when John Cena fought Roman, and I could barely even see the guys, so if you're going to be up there, you're there for the experience. You're not there to really get intimate with the matches, because you won't. So give it to them for $25 or $30. They'll probably spend $100 on beer and pizza and popcorn at the snack bar, and it's win-win for everybody.
And buy merch.
Yeah, right. And buy merch.
Yeah, I can tell you, sitting up in the press area at Allegiant Stadium, man, you're up there, baby. Woo! It is a long way to the ground, that's for sure. All right, let's take another break, and when we come back, what do you say we hit some of the stuff that's been going on in the ring with the Elimination Chamber? Is there going to be a locker room feud between the vets and the young kids? Oh, look out. It's coming, I think. We'll talk about it when we return on the Mark Hoke Show. Coach Rosey's along for the ride with me. We'll be right back.
We're here with Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center. Chuck, where can I find your nearest location in Southern Nevada?
Great question. The best way to find us is Google Dollar Loan Center near me, or go to don'tbebroke.com, where you can even apply online if you like.
Well, I use ChatGPT now.
I'm sure that would work too. The bottom line is it's worth the effort. We save customers a lot compared to other payday or title places, and we lend way more. We even give all new customers the first week's interest on us, sort of a free trial. There's no fee to apply, and they can keep this loan out for up to a year if they really need to.
Founded in Las Vegas over 28 years ago, DLC lends up to $5,000 in minutes. Stop by any of our 25 nearby locations to meet our real friendly staff. You can also apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
License by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Subject to approval. Limitations may apply. See website for details.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Empower.
After wanting one for years, Kevin is finally enjoying his new hot tub.
This is the life.
He worked with Empower to help him get good at money, so now he can be a little bad.
Oh, no, not my phone.
Oh, Kevin. Kevin's phone may be in hot water, but his finances aren't. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
1015 FM KDAWN.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
Yeah, I just saw another Hulk Hogan tribute video the other day and just made me think of the Hulkster. Miss you, buddy. Miss you. Coach, Elimination Chamber is starting to shape up. We have, let's take a look at the card at the moment. So the men's match, Randy Orton, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Javon Evans, Trick Williams are in. We still have one more spot that will go to either Bronson Reed, Jey Uso, or the original El Grande Americano, who is certainly no chance that that's Chad Gable. No, there's no way. The women's match, Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Kiana James, and the last match will be between Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and Raquel Rodriguez. Becky Lynch, AJ Lee, and CM Punk and Finn Balor at the moment, rounding out the card. But some fascinating matches happened this week as Kiana James got a roll up on, or a little crucifix roll up kind of thing with Charlotte Flair, and Kiana James goes to the Elimination Chamber. Javon Evans is in. Trick Williams is in. So I think WWE is sending a message. You know, you got some other youngsters, you know, another one like Obafemi that have been sent to the main roster. But Coach, is there a potential civil war in the WWE locker room that a lot of the veterans that have been there a while, and you know, there are obviously some that are going to be safe for their spots like Roman Reigns and so on, but a lot of other people have got to be looking over their shoulders a little bit and all of a sudden saying, oh boy, we're in trouble. Do you see any, well, you know, it's a collegial business, but do you see any issues coming up here with this battle between this new wave of young wrestlers and the current veterans that are trying to hold their spots?
No, not at all. If anything, I think maybe some of the veterans might have gone to management and said, hey, we're running out of guys to fight here. You know, Cody might have said, hey, I fought Drew 5, 6, 7 times. You know, I need some fresh guys to compete against, you know, and you have guys that are of all different levels that are young. You got Trick Williams, tall, strong, great on the mic. You got Javon Evans, who can fly all around the ring, young. You want to have a match with a lot of spots. That's him. Then you got a young guy like Obafemi, jacked, physical, a guy that it's believable that he can take on a Brock Lesnar or a Roman Reigns. So I think these young guys, especially the men, are going to give the veterans maybe some fresh meat to compete against and to create some more compelling storylines, because I know I'm tired of seeing rematch after rematch after rematch. So I don't see a civil war. I see the old guys saying, hey, give me someone to fight. I mean, Charlotte, if she probably even has veto power if she wanted to. She took a pin from that young lady to propel her career and to maybe create a storyline with her. You know, these older wrestlers know that they need the young talent to create storylines that keep things fresh for them.
Well, here's the other situation with the younger talent. And let's also include Carmelo Hayes in there. I know he's been up for a little bit, but you know, Carmelo's amazing too. Is these guys are going to want to get the top spots. And you know, you look at a guy like Javon Evans, who's just so unique at what he can do in the ring. You look at a guy like Obafemi, who is a killer in there. I mean, he hasn't wrestled that many matches, but the guy is a monster, and he gets ring psychology so well for somebody who's wrestled so few matches. You know, Trick is just over. You know, they're not coming up there to be jobbers. They're coming up there to win and get to the top of the card. There's got to be some people in locker room looking over their shoulders a little bit.
Maybe looking over their shoulders, but I think that those older guys in the WWE locker room, like Roman and Cody, and even though Drew is a major heel, a lot of people say he's one of the kindest guys in the world. You know, a lot of these young guys are looking to be mentored. And I think if you're in the wrestling business, you understand that you have to earn it. And if you don't earn it, and if you try to go above and beyond what you're being told to do, they'll check you really quick. And you can go from being a rising star to be written off right away. So I think they're going to do their part and understand that there is a pecking order. And if you overstep that pecking order, it might not be your very best decision.
Oh, let's just say this. What if Triple H decides that pecking order is not what he wants? And he wants these young kids in the thick of things. You know, you have Kiana James, Lash Legend. You know, Sol Roca is going to be up there soon too. it's going to be fun to watch because eventually they're going to have to make decisions on who's going to be their top people, and do you bring this battle wave up to the top of the card and maybe push some of these other people down, or do you hurt them in terms of what people may be seeing on TV with losses? That's going to be a trick. It's going to be a real trick. I don't remember a time since maybe the WCW days when everybody left the WWF to go to WCW that there was so much potential for turnover there. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, Coach. I really do.
Hey, if one of them steps up against Triple H and he doesn't want him there, he'll fire him or let the contract expire. We'll see him in AEW, and that will send a message to the young guys. All it takes is a message from management, and usually people will fall in line.
We had another interesting result in WWE this week that Aleister Black beat Randy Orton. Got some help from Drew. Drew sending a message there. But were you a little surprised on that one, Coach, that Aleister Black gets a win over Randy?
Yeah, extremely surprised, but extremely excited because I love Aleister Black, and I don't think he's ever gotten the push, whether it was AEW, whether it was WWE, that he truly deserves. I mean, he's got a niche character, but to me, that character can go some places. He's amazing with all the karate kicks and the judo and the karate. And you can see that Randy is not one of those crotchety old veterans, because I think I saw on another match that Javon kind of messed up the RKO finish, and where most veterans would, have issues with it. Randy picked him up, gave him a big handshake and hug in the ring, and all was forgotten. So maybe maybe Randy's going to be the guy that puts the young guys over. Because it doesn't look like to me that he has an ego. He looks like he's having the best time he's ever had in the ring. He's smiling, he's laughing, he's interacting with fans, he's signing autographs coming down to the ring. So to me, I just think he's happy to be really the longest tenured WWE star there. He really is the OG of WWE. So if the OG falls in line and puts these young guys over, maybe that will give the message to some of the other older guys that this is what we do in wrestling.
Yeah, it's such a change for Randy, and I think that after seeing some of his contemporaries leaving the industry, he's got to know that even though he's in great shape, I'm sure his body is just wrecked. I can't imagine he's not waking up in pain, especially when he does a finisher that you have to jump. We know what that did to Hulk Hogan, and Randy is probably in the same spot. And it's such a change. I don't know if I actually had seen a little video of when Garza messed up in a match with him, and Randy actually kind of stopped the match and pulled Garza outside and yelled at him. So times have changed. I think we got a mellower Randy Orton at this point.
Yep. With age comes humility and wisdom.
Yeah. And just real quick before we get out of this hour, and we're going to be hearing from Brian Solomon in just a little bit in hour number 2. Triple threat, fatal 4-way with Drew, Cody, Randy, and Jacob Fatu, maybe. Is that where we're going with this other main event for WrestleMania?
Yeah, it looks logical, especially with what happened on SmackDown, where I don't know who it was. I think it was Pierce whispered into Jacob's ear, "Don't worry, you're going to get him. You're going to get your shot. You're going to get your shot." So the seeds are being planted.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I like that 4-way. I think it would have been a little more fun with Brock in there instead of Jacob, but they're going to go to Jacob. This Brock Lesnar LA Knight match they're talking about, I don't know, but should be a lot of fun, especially with the history between Randy and Drew and Cody. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So we're going to head into hour number 2 coming up, and it's going to be Brian Solomon, the author of Irresistible Force, The Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon, which you can go get right now. Maybe you should before the interview starts. Go pick that up online. Fascinating interview with him as we talked about Gorilla and some other things going on in wrestling. And I know, Coach, you were talking to Mike Chioda today. We were talking about Charles Robinson a little bit in refereeing. So that'll be fun to hear from Brian Solomon coming up in hour number 2 of the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Follow us on X at Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, the Mark Hoke Show. We'll be right back, everybody. Stick around. USA, baby!
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.
If you need to sell your house, talk to Aaron Taylor. You want to sell it fast and get the most cash, talk to Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy.
Buying or selling a home isn't just another transaction. It's the biggest financial decision of your life. And let's be honest, trust matters. That's why so many people choose Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy. With decades of experience, thousands of homes sold, and hundreds of 5-star Google reviews, our reputation speaks for itself. We help sellers get top dollar, even offering cash advances and repairs to maximize value. We buy homes in any condition, distressed, outdated, or even the nasty ones, fast and hassle-free. Residential, commercial, luxury, we do it all. Our marketing is unmatched, always getting our clients the most money possible. If you want honesty, professionalism, and results, call the real estate guys today. 702-310-6683. That's 702-310-MOVE. License number 38886. Call for details.
Talk to Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy.
Nevada's essential workers keep our state running. Now, One Nevada Credit Union wants to help you own a piece of the state you support. Eligible home buyers can receive up to $20,000 in down payment assistance to use towards your down payment, closing costs, or eligible loan expenses. Whether you're a first-time buyer or looking for your next home, if you work in healthcare, education, law enforcement, or construction, this could be your key to home ownership. Don't wait. Visit onenevada.org today.
Membership required. Loan subject to credit approval. Program eligibility and terms apply. Equal housing lender.
Nevada's essential workers keep our state running. Now, One Nevada Credit Union wants to help you own a piece of the state you support. Eligible home buyers can receive up to $20,000 in down payment assistance to use towards your down payment, closing costs, or eligible loan expenses. Whether you're a first-time buyer or looking for your next home, if you work in healthcare, education, law enforcement, or construction, this could be your key to home ownership. Don't wait. Visit onenevada.org today.
Membership required. Loan subject to credit approval. Program eligibility and terms apply. Equal housing lender.
Pete's back on the links with all new golf clubs and hopefully less swearing.
Dang! Sliced it.
He worked with Empower to help him get good at money so he can be a little bad.
Heads up!
Oof. Talent sold separately.
Guy said these were slice proof.
At least he has money for lessons. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. In football, any sign of weakness can be used against you. So I always put on a tough front, but inside I was struggling mentally on how and what to do. It takes years to understand that only by opening up could I begin to overcome them. If you need someone to open up to, BetterHelp Online Therapy can help. Visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
KMXB HD3 Henderson, K268CS Las Vegas, 1015 FM KDAWN. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
A deadly shooting at Mar-a-Lago. This is a Fox News alert. I'm Kathleen Maloney. According to the Secret Service, law enforcement shot and killed a man who they say was trying to enter President Trump's Florida resort early this morning. Miami Field Office Special Agent in Charge, Rafael Barros, says The suspect was armed.
Preliminary information indicates that the individual was armed with a shotgun in a possession of a gasoline canister.
President Trump was not at Mar-a-Lago at the time, and no police or agents were hurt. The incident, including the individual's background and potential motive, are under investigation by the FBI. The Northeast is bracing for a monster storm that could bring even more snow and strong winds than that Arctic blast in January. Fox Weather's Adam Klotz.
Blizzard warning stretching down along the coast of New Jersey and then getting up through New York City. The first time New York City has been under a blizzard warning since March of 2017. It is really an all-day type of event running through your Sunday into Sunday night, Monday by midday, and there's still heavy snow along the I-95 corridor, really clearing off in the afternoon, the evening hours. And some of these totals are getting almost hard to believe, 18 to 24 inches, getting in the 2 to 3 foot range. Now, those are very isolated areas where you're going to see that much snowfall, but it's possible out there. On top of that, the winds are a real issue. 50, 60 miles an hour. That is going to get rid of visibility. It's going to bring down a lot of power lines.
And we're just getting word now that Broadway shows in New York City will go dark tonight because of that storm. The United States is on top of the hockey world for the first time in nearly a half century. Jack Hughes scored the game-winning goal in overtime. This is the first gold medal for the men's hockey since the Miracle on Ice in 1980. The score was 2-1 in overtime. President Trump congratulated the team on Truth Social. America's listening to Fox News.
In the summer of 1985, Southern California wasn't just hot, it was terrifying. A shadow stalked the suburbs. They called him the Night Stalker.
So far, 6 communities have been the target of the so-called Night Stalker.
Fox Nation Investigates presents Beware the Night Stalker.
You admit to being evil, Richard?
We are all evil in some form or another, are we not?
Listen and follow now at foxtruecrime.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Get those W-2s ready. Tax season has arrived. It's the Fox Business Tax Tips. Fox News Radio's Ginny Casola and Hillary Barsky are joined by the hosts of the Fox Business Network to provide you with the latest tips, tricks, and updates on filing your taxes. From deadlines to tax law changes to the latest deductions, we'll cover it all to make sure you keep that hard-earned money where it belongs, in your pocket. Listen and follow the Fox Business Tax Tips at foxnewspodcasts.com.
Everything's faster in Atlanta.
These cars are glued together. Up top, it's Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell.
It's the Auto Trader 400 at Echo Park Speedway. Sunday, February 22nd at 11 a.m. on 101.5 FM, KDAWN.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
And welcome back to hour number 2 of the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Also streaming on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. If you download that app, Coach Rosey is going to send you an autographed 2x2.
That's it.
I'll bring him to WrestleMania. It'll be fun. What do you think of that, Coach?
I'm looking at the Travel Shark right now, trying to find rooms for Vegas, not only for WrestleMania week, but I want to go up there for spring break after the season with my wife. So Travel Shark also comes in very handy.
Yes, it is a great website. Go to thetravelshark.com/Hoke Show. Hey, you need a hotel room, man. That's the place to go. Best deals around, promise you. So make sure you check it out at thetravelshark.com/Hoke Show. Well, if you're traveling, you may need a book, something to read. And we are very fortunate that we got one of the great pro wrestling writers, historians, to sit down with me on Friday. We got a little chat about his now award-winning book, as it won the Wrestling Observer Award for Best Book of Wrestling Book of 2025. Brian Solomon joined us. We went over a whole lot of stuff as we're talking about his book, Irresistible Force, The Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon. So what do you say, Coach? Should we hear from him?
I can't wait. Gorilla's one of my heroes.
No doubt. So let's hear from now, Brian Solomon. And we are on the Mark Hoke Show, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have this guy on the show. A lot of people know that I dig wrestling history, and I swear to God, though, I don't have 1,000th of the knowledge of this man, one of the true wrestling historians out there. He, of course, wrote the book that won the Best Pro Wrestling Book from the Wrestling Observer Award, his second one. He also won one a while back for the book that he wrote about the Sheik, Blood and Fire, the unbelievable real-life story of wrestling's original Sheik. This one's one that I think hits home with a lot of modern fans and fans my age, too. Irresistible Force, Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon. He also, of course, is the host of the Shut Up and Wrestle podcast. You can find that at suawpod.com. And he survived an experience with Jim Cornette. Let's get him in here. Brian R. Solomon, what's going on, sir?
It's going okay, Mark. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. We are thrilled to have you. First, where did your love of pro wrestling come from? I remember the first time I saw pro wrestling on a TV. How did you get into pro wrestling?
I started watching it as a kid, like a lot of people did in the 80s during the whole Hulkamania thing. Actually, it was the build up to WrestleMania 3 that really sold me with Andre the Giant and everything like that. And, it was like I was at a perfect age. I was 12 going on 13. So I was getting a little too old for cartoons. I was still an obsession.
Oh, that's awesome. Wrestling, I was actually delivering newspapers, and I walked into give everybody a little bit of an idea of what you've done in the industry for people that aren't familiar with your background, because you have just been all over the place in pro wrestling.
Yeah, well, I worked for WWE itself for 7 years. I was there from 2000 to 2007 in their magazines department and editor, writer, all that sort of stuff. And in more recent years, I've been kind of doing freelance stuff. So I have my podcast that you mentioned. I work for Arcadian Vanguard, which is Jim Cornette's and Brian Last's podcast network, and I do the wrestling news for them. I've written 6 books. I am a regular contributor to Inside the Ropes and Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which are the 2 surviving wrestling magazines right now. So I keep busy with wrestling stuff.
How is the pro wrestling magazine industry? Now, I know a lot of us have been around our age that when we were getting into pro wrestling, those magazines were kind of our lifeline to the rest of the wrestling world.
Yeah.
What is it like now for pro wrestling magazines, and how are they surviving?
It's like it is for every other magazine, really, honestly. If it's difficult and the market is not what it was. And I think one of the reasons that those 2 remaining ones are able to survive is because there's no competition. So except each other, there's that's really it. I know there's 1 or 2 in Japan, there's 1 or 2 in Mexico, but as far as, here in North America, and particularly in the English language, because Inside the Ropes is out of the UK, that's pretty much it. PWI definitely is the last American pro wrestling magazine. And, as a lot of us know, as you probably know, I mean, there used to be maybe 12, 15 coming out, every month. You'd go to the newsstand each week and there'd be like a whole bunch to choose from. And those days are done, but that reflects the entire wrestling business. So,
yeah,
I'm sorry, the entire magazine business, I should say.
Yeah, that is very true. The Irresistible Force book about Gorilla Monsoon. First, why did you choose to write about Gorilla? What fascinated you so much about him that you decided to go all the way with this?
Well, one of the reasons was there'd never been a book done about him before, and he was such a central figure to the history of WWE that I felt like that was an injustice that I wanted to correct. I grew up with him, as a lot of people did, and people my age. And if you're older than me and you lived in the Northeast, and you even knew him before he was a commentator. So, there's a lot to be covered there. He had a lot of significance behind the scenes that people didn't always know about. And I wanted to tell the whole story.
For people that came into watching wrestling about when you and I did, we saw Gorilla Monsoon as the announcer, but he had an incredible wrestling career. Tell us a little bit about some of the things you found out about Gorilla as a wrestler and where he fit in the industry at the time.
Yeah, he was one of the top heels in the entire wrestling business in the mid to late 1960s, in the biggest money market, which even in those days was the Worldwide Wrestling Federation in the Northeast, selling out Madison Square Garden. And then in the 70s, when he became part owner of the company, he transitioned into a good guy, and he became more of like a special attraction, like an Andre the Giant type, or somebody who was, right below the main event level, but a special attraction. And so you're talking about a 20-year wrestling career, even before he started commentating. And the thing is, even though I remembered him only as the commentator, because I grew up in New York and I had a lot of older people I knew that were fans. My dad had watched some wrestling. My grandfather was around it because he was a boxing coach and things. So I had an awareness that Gorilla Monsoon had been a wrestler. And I mean, he would occasionally talk about it on commentary, but I had an awareness that he'd been this big villain and that he wrestled Bruno Sammartino. I had kind of this vague awareness of it. And what I wanted to do in the book was really get into the weeds on that in a way that's never been done, and talk about the wrestling that was going on in the WWF at that time on a really granular level. Like, you hear plenty about 80s and 90s and beyond. Everybody knows it chapter and verse. And I wanted to go back to the 60s and 70s and really give it the same treatment.
How big of a draw was he?
I would say in 1964, in 1965, in 67, and 68, he was probably the second biggest heel draw behind the original Sheik in all of wrestling. Now, it didn't last because, his prime, the prime of his career, was really already over by the time he was like in his mid-30s. And part of that was because of his health, his size, and his mobility kind of slowing down. And part of it was because he was transitioning to more of a behind-the-scenes figure. So he didn't really figure in as much to the angles as he used to. But when he was working against Bruno, they were doing incredible numbers, just incredible numbers. They were selling out. They were packing people in at a time when the attendance at Madison Square Garden and throughout the WWF territory was not always on fire the way we think about it. There were times where it kind of went down. The 70s was actually a lot hotter than the 60s. But when it was Bruno and Gorilla, it was always massive. They had 4 main events at Madison Square Garden. They had another 4 or so in Philadelphia. They had a couple in Boston. They wrestled all up and down the Eastern Seaboard, as far west as they went into West Virginia and Ohio. They went up to Maine. I mean, hundreds of main events. It was a money match, and they took it everywhere. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., you name it.
Tell us a little bit about his influence in the back, because I think a lot of people, like I said, we picture Gorilla as the announcer, but he was part owner of the company. I mean, had things gone differently, we wouldn't have been talking about Vince McMahon Jr. We might have been talking about Gorilla Monsoon leading the charge for WWE or F or WWF, whichever version you want to call it. What was his role in the back, and how big of an influence did he have on what was going on?
Well, he bought into the company in 1969. He bought a 25% share of ownership. And he was in charge of TV production. He basically ran the show backstage, because Vince McMahon Sr. did not do that. He wasn't like Vince McMahon Jr. Vince Sr. was more of like, I'm going to hold court in my office and I'm going to let you guys run the show. Very different from his son, who very much had the reputation of being a micromanager. So Gorilla was his trusted guy. And so behind the scenes, he wound up with a lot of power because of that, a lot of power. And honestly, he was originally lined up to be next in succession to take over from Vince Sr., because he was about 20 years, more than 20 years younger. Gorilla was pretty much young enough to be Vince's son almost. And so he's a very smart guy, very well respected, good head on his shoulders, good head for wrestling and for business. And so he was sort of the unspoken successor at a time when Vince McMahon Jr. was really not that well regarded because he was very unproven. He was in his 20s, early 30s, and kind of an untested commodity. So, yeah, you're right. Things could have gone very, very differently.
So tell the story about how it ended up in Vince's hands and not Gorilla's.
Well, in the early 80s, and I think it was because Vince Sr. was getting sick. He had pancreatic cancer. Not a lot of people knew. I don't even think he knew the extent of how bad it was, but he was just getting the feeling of wanting to get out. And at that point, like by about 1980, Vince Jr. had started his own separate company, which was called Titan Sports. This was distinct and separate at the time from the WWF. It was his company. But Vince Sr., whose company was called Capital Wrestling Corporation, and that's what ran the WWF, he was looking to get out, Sr., and he had 50% ownership at the time. So Vince Sr. never owned the company 100%. He had 50%. Gorilla had 20 at that time. A promoter named Phil Zacco had 20, and Arnold Skoland, who was another behind-the-scenes guy who was Bruno's and Backlund's manager, he had 10%. So Vince Sr. was looking to get out. He wanted to sell his 50%. There were some interested parties. They couldn't get the money up for it. And so at that point, Vince Sr. thought, I'm going to just sell my shares to the other three partners, and at that point, Gorilla would have been probably the majority owner, and he probably would have stepped in and took over. And I think Vince Jr. got wind of that, and he kind of swooped in. He said, don't do that. Sell it to me. And, it's his son. So he was able to get his dad on his side, convince him. And the real big move was he said to him, look, I'm not just interested in buying your 50%. I want the whole thing. I want to buy everyone out. So that is where it became a little tricky because the other guys had to be convinced. And obviously Gorilla had the most to lose from this. So they really had to work hard to make him happy and make it a very advantageous deal for him to give up his ownership. Otherwise, I think he would have really become a thorn in their side.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And we're on with Brian Solomon, the author of Irresistible Force, The Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon, and a fantastic book, award-winning book. We could get to say that. Let's talk a little bit more about Gorilla. And when, we all know that him as the happy-go-lucky announcer and, was one of the voices of a lot of people's childhood. But there was something that did happen that I know you wrote a lot about in the book, was the death of his son, Joey. And, a lot of us didn't even know that Joey Morrell, the referee, of course, who did WrestleMania 3 and so many other huge matches, was Gorilla's son. And when a lot of us found out, I think we were in shock. But I know that really just tore him apart. What effect did Joey in dying in that crash have on Gorilla?
Yeah, their connection wasn't really made public to fans until Joey died. Joey was the son of Gorilla's wife, Maureen, and Gorilla, whose name was Bob Morella, Gino Morella. He adopted Joey as his own son, along with Joey's sister Sharon. And, that destroyed him, losing Joey, because he had raised Joey from infancy. Infancy. He was the father in his life. And so they were very close, and that was something that he never recovered from. Never. He was never the same. He lived another 5 years after that. He was only 62 when he passed, and I think he was just waiting to die.
Wow, that's terrible. What are you most proud of in this book, and what are you hoping that people are going to take from it?
I think, I'm most proud really of getting into the details and behind the scenes of stuff that people never really knew about from the most successful and dominant wrestling company in history. And so I think the thing I hope people take away from it is it's called The Life and Times for a reason. So it's not just Gorilla Monsoon's life. Surrounding that life with this book, you really get the history of the WWF from the 60s through the 90s, everything they went through, the changes, the expansions, the ownership, everything that was going on around Monsoon is also part of this book.
Yeah, so make sure you guys pick that up. Once again, the title of the book is Irresistible Force, The Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon by our guest, Brian R. Solomon. I wanted to ask you about this tweet you had about Charles Robinson, by the way. Boy, I'm trying to get people in trouble on tweets. But you had said that he's the only referee out there that's worth anything. And what brought that on? What did you mean by that?
Well, it's very hard sometimes for me to lose myself watching a modern wrestling match. And again, I've said it so many times, I don't blame the referees per se, because they're being trained a certain way. They're being told how to do their job. Charles Robinson is the only one left on the mainstream wrestling scene who comes from the old school, the old way of doing things, the old way of when they trained referees, to really kind of step in and be the voice of authority and be a big part of the psychology of the match. And I think so often today, these referees, they just kind of blend into the background and they essentially just kind of let everything happen as if they were just a fan watching the match. And it's a trick to be a good wrestling referee, because you don't want to make it about yourself. You have to be careful not to draw inordinate attention to yourself so that people are looking at you instead of the wrestlers, but you have to make it look like you're doing something. You have to always be active. Referees need to move around, get in the wrestlers' faces, challenge them. You are the one in charge. And very often I see these referees that they stand far away from the action. It's like they don't want to get in the wrestler's way, which I'm sure is intentional. There's almost no interaction between the wrestlers and the ref. It's like the referee is just doing some kind of weird pantomime in the background where they're just kind of waving their hands and making a pained face, and the wrestlers are doing nothing to acknowledge that they're even there. So much of the psychology of the match is lost. There's obviously professional wrestling is a performance. There's no actual rule book or anything like that, but the pretense and the illusion of rules is part of the illusion of pro wrestling. And when the refs are just standing there letting everything go, it really hurts that illusion. And the referees don't act so much like they're the person in charge in the ring anymore. I often compare it to, they act like the exasperated parent of a bunch of spoiled children. That's the way they act, like they're just begging, pleading, wringing their hands, looking all concerned. And I'm watching it going, you are the official. Yeah. You have the power to step in and do something, that should be part of any great match, because otherwise it just makes everyone look so foolish. But, that's what I get for coming up in the old way of doing wrestling, that it sometimes makes it hard to enjoy the newer stuff.
Well, speaking of the newer stuff, how do you feel about the wrestling that's going on right now? We seem to have two distinct styles with what's going on with WWE and what's going on with AEW. And then you have whatever's happening out there on the indies, good and bad. But how do you feel about what's happening in the ring right now? And, do you have a favorite, of the organizations of how they're doing things?
There's always going to be good stuff to watch. I'm like one of those guys, I'm going to watch my baseball team, whether they're good or bad. I'm not going to stop watching them. No matter how much the game changes, I still want to watch it. I hate the pitch count, all these things that I'll complain about, but I'm still going to watch it. And it's the same with wrestling. I think that WWE tends to get more things right than AEW does, but WWE is also in a spot where they tend to get complacent when they have a really dominant lead like they do right now, and then things start to stagnate a little bit. But at least I feel like there's more people over there who understand the fundamentals of wrestling and are willing to enforce them and hold a standard of quality more. And that's what I appreciate more. AEW, I think, would do a lot better if they were not aspiring to be a number 2 national wrestling company. Like, I think what they do, in the same way, like if you remember ECW back in the day, they're so well regarded now, but they threw everything out the window. They just kind of did whatever they felt like doing. And it was great as this underground promotion, you know. And then once they tried to break through and really go mainstream, they collapsed. Because that type of stuff, it has a limited appeal. That's the thing. And I think that's what ECW struggles with. They can't seem to grow their audience. It's just not as well put together as WWE stuff is, in my opinion.
What are some of those fundamentals you're talking about?
Fundamentals in terms of how you put a match together, how you put a card together. So, for example, again, not to harp on the referees, I saw a tag team match on last week's show where it literally just became a handicap match. You just had two wrestlers from one team in the ring. Nobody was tagging in or out. They were just beating the bejesus out of this one wrestler in the ring. Her tag team partner was on the ring apron, not even trying to get involved or help her partner. And the referee is in the opposite corner just watching all of it. And these two wrestlers were just allowed to be in there as long as they felt like it and do whatever they felt like. And that's a very common occurrence there. And you'd never be able to get away with that in WWE. And also in terms of how the cards are put together. So if you have a big spot that's going to happen in your main event, you make sure nobody else on the card does that. You know, if you're going to do blood in a big match, you make sure you don't really do it a lot in other matches. If you're going to have somebody go through tables in one match, you make sure you don't do it a lot on the other matches. Or if someone's using a specific finish, you make sure it's not being used in other places. Those kind of quality control things, which I think often go by the wayside in AEW, not to mention even the fundamentals of booking and of crafting these storylines and getting these characters over, and the way to do it and the way to reinforce things in fans' minds. We see so many wrestlers just come and go there. They get off to a hot start and then they vanish, or a story gets interesting and then it disappears. The AEW kicked off this really intriguing storyline where they had the Young Bucks. They laid out Tony Khan and they said they were going to take the company over. And Tony Khan's father came out and he was all concerned. And Tony Khan is lying there on the mat. And you're thinking, well, this is interesting. I mean, yes, it's a little derivative of what WWE did with Vince McMahon and Steve Austin and things like that. But hey, this is kind of interesting. Went nowhere. They just dropped it and it just went nowhere. And for people like me, that is a frustrating experience because I'm looking for some type of logic. And all that AEW seems to be able to deliver is, well, this is a really great match. And here's another really great match. And this is going to be a really great match. And I think you need more than that to have a successful wrestling product.
How do you feel about what's happening with these ice chants at the AEW events?
I don't think they have any control over it. So whether they like it or not, they're stuck with it because and there's not going to be a single time that Brody King comes out there in the foreseeable future that they're not going to start chanting that. So, you know, it's funny. I was just talking on the PWI podcast this morning about whether or not the company should lean into that or not, or whether they should try to no sell it, because they're already getting some press about being kind of the more progressive minded company versus the more conservative Trump affiliated WWE. And should that be something they play up? And to tell you the truth, I don't really know. I really don't. I think it's something that their fan base would be receptive to, but I don't know if it's worth, I don't know what kind of publicity they would get. So far, the publicity it's been good because they've been getting attention. I do think that they should take a shot with Brody King and give him a nice push and see where it goes. But I think the jury's out on that, on really how they want to handle it. I don't know, but I do know that it's not going to go away.
Fair enough. The last question I got for you is, how did you survive hanging out with Jim Cornette? It's got to be fun to be on the show with him. I mean, whether you love the guy or you hate the guy, he is just, he's so knowledgeable and, but very opinionated. What's it like doing a show with Jim?
Well, he likes me, so that helps. And
yeah,
this is my third time stepping in for Brian. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. I like to I don't try to copy Brian Last and what he does with Jim. I can't do that. I don't have the chemistry they have. I don't, I have a different skill set. I have a different approach, a different tone. So I just try to be myself, and people seem to enjoy it as a nice alternative when I step in there. And like I said, I mean, Brian, I've been friends with Brian and Jim for years now. And I knew Jim even a little bit back in the WWE days. And I'm just glad that they like me and trust me. I do other things for them. So it's a pleasure. It's an absolute thrill. I love when he gets all worked up and I have to sort of like step in and try to be a voice of reason. And I think we have a pretty good thing going, and I'll do it whenever they want me in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, once again, Brian, we've got the Irresistible Force, The Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon, award-winning book. Tell everybody where they can get it and and other things where they can find you.
Sure. So if people want a signed copy of it, I have signed copies that I'm selling directly. You can reach me at brianrsolomon@yahoo.com or find me on social media. Other than that, if you just want a regular old copy, you can get them wherever books are sold. I mean, everyone, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, you name it. Even the brick and mortar Barnes & Nobles, if they don't have it in, they'll order it. So it's pretty easy to get a hold of.
Well, make sure you check that book out and check out Brian's podcast as well, the Shut Up and Wrestle podcast. And Brian, it's an honor to have you on. We got to do this again sometime, my friend.
My pleasure. Anytime you want, Mark.
Yeah, and by the way, tell Jimmy's got to get my station name right. I can't say what he called it one time, but well, just drop that line for him, would you?
I'll try.
I appreciate it.
All
Brian
right.
Solomon, everybody. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and there you go. Brian Solomon. Before we get this commercial break in, Coach, just a quick reaction to some of the stuff that he said.
He's a real deal because I've heard that story from Mike Chioda about Gorilla possibly having some major ownership stakes in what would be today WWE. That was huge in the business back then, and he's correct. Not only did the death of Joey ruin Gorilla, but it had a huge impact on a lot of people. That was a terrible thing that happened. And you're right, nobody knew about the relationship or the connection between him and Gorilla until it was all over. And Gorilla was a heck of a gambler. You guys didn't bring that up in the interview, but being a Las Vegas guy, Atlantic City was Gorilla's home pretty much. He can walk into any casino with a wad full of money, and he was recognized. His game of choice was blackjack. He loved playing gin back in the locker room with the guys. So, Gorilla was a mentor not only to Mike Chioda, but he was a mentor to a lot of the younger wrestlers. And, Tony Schiavone was the voice in WCW, but Gorilla Monsoon was the voice and with Bobby for us in WWF. So he gave a lot of guys our age the narrative behind the stories.
Taught us a lot about intestinal fortitude. That's
right.
For sure. All right, let's take a break as we're running behind. But make sure you pick that book up, Irresistible Force, The Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon, wherever you buy your books. It sounds like an incredible read. All right, and when we come back, a lot more news in the world of pro wrestling. We've got, let's see. Oh, yeah. Dominic and Dude Wipes. Oh, dear God, are you kidding me? Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back.
Are you a fraud-paying American? 1 in 4 tax-paying Americans have been victim of identity fraud. With LifeLock, your identity, if it's stolen, they fix it guaranteed or your money back. And last year, billions in refunds were stolen. Could be from your salary, overtime, or second job. Gone. But this year, you don't need to stay a victim. Because this tax season, fraud-paying American is something no American should have to claim. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms do apply.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. After my husband died, the last thing I wanted to think about was money. Ethos made it affordable to get life insurance. Signing up was fast and 100% online. I knew that I could pay our mortgage and have food in the fridge. I could focus on my kids. No one ever tells you how much you're going to depend on that policy. I am so grateful we had coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Spring savings start early at Lowe's. Get a Cobalt 24-volt max leaf blower for just $99. It's powerful, lightweight, and ready to go. Plus, get 4 bags of Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil for just $10. Don't wait. Get everything you need to start on your spring projects today. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/4. Soil offer excludes Hawaii. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
I am Steve Smith, Sr., former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 Show on YouTube. As men, we're taught to handle things. Be strong. Don't complain. Don't talk about it. Being a man also means being a father, a friend, a husband, and carrying all that gets heavy. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. If you got things you don't say out loud, BetterHelp gives you a place to say them. Online therapy that works around your schedule. Visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89. Don't wait.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
1015 FM KDAWN. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
And we return to the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 1015 FM. Talk of Las Vegas. Coach Rosey with me as we continue to go through the world of pro wrestling. And once again, I want to thank Brian Solomon for joining us. Make sure you pick his book up. Irresistible Force, The Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon. Pretty good stuff. Coach, you know, if we need to take care of business on the backside, WWE is apparently planning to help us out because they have signed a big deal apparently with Dude White. And not only are we going to see it all over the TV, but we're going to see it all over Dominic Mysterio. As they're promising he will be coming out in Dude Wipes gear. Coach, do you want Dude Wipes stamped on your box?
Man, not only would I like them stitched on my box, they touch my body every single day. I'm a huge fan of Dude Wipes. We have them all over the place in our house. It's a huge score for WWE. You know, Dude Wipes got into the sponsorship of professional wrestling because they sponsored Jeff Jarrett's show in Hendersonville, and it went so well for Dude Wipes that they decided to just go all in on wrestling, because wrestling fans sometimes have some odor problems, whether it's deodorant, whether it's their bathroom need. So, you know, one thing that's really going to help not only their dating lives, but their smell is to be able to have Dude Wipes at all times, and WWE has seized the opportunity to make wrestling cleaner.
Oh, dear God. Biotic Soup in the chat box, by the way, says, if the check clears. I guess.
What up, Scoop?
I suppose I'd wear a Dude Wipe shirt, too. Just, wow. The coach, thanks for illustrating that so brilliantly. We
No
appreciate
problem.
that. We appreciate it. One guy who might need some Dude Wipes from sweating and whatever else is Swerve Strickland. Coach, they fined him $100,000 for his attack on Kenny Omega. I would be protesting this. Seriously. You know why? Hangman burned his house down. Did Hangman get fined? No.
Didn't happen during company time, though.
No.
There just happened to be a camera out there, and you know, he was in his off hours, so you can't really there must not be a clause in his contract. But what Swerve did, happened on television in front of everybody, and he attacked announcers, referees, and Kenny Omega. $100,000 is not enough, and the suspension from last night's collision was not enough. Really make Swerve pay. $500,000, $1 million.
Wow. Wow. He didn't.
Yep.
I mean, he did hang him with a chain, but that's a lot of money, man. That's not fair. I'm starting to GoFundMe, right? Swerve, we're going to start a GoFundMe. We'll start a call-in line that says TK 1-800-TK sucks. And everybody can chip in and help pay Swerve's fine. That's a load of BS. You're going to need some dude wipes to wipe all that. Well, you know what? It's terrible. I'm sorry, Coach. Not with you on that. Unbelievable. Poor Swerve. So bad. John Cena cleaned up. I'm gonna drill this for a while. I don't know if you saw those final numbers for John Cena's last match. Set an all-time arena show gate, $6,553,883 for John's last match in DC. Damn, Coach, that's a lot of money for one show.
Yeah, as it should be. A lot of people have John Cena on their Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, and to be able to be in the house for his final match, if you're a big, huge John Cena fan, you'd pay anything. I was front row at Ric Flair's last match. I won't tell you how much I paid because my wife was in earshot, but it was a number because I needed to see Ric Flair's last match because he's my favorite wrestler. And I know a lot of people's favorite wrestler is John Cena. So that $6 million, that's a good number for John Cena.
That's unbelievable. Before I let you go, I know you got to get out of here, miss the last segment, but some WWE wrestlers got into it with Tom Brady when he said that doing WWE was cute, and started a little bit of a backlash in that. Now everybody's saying, well, could a football player wrestle? Can a wrestler play football? We've seen a lot of people, and it was funny because I saw a lot of people, some people say, oh, football players, don't do well in wrestling. I'm like, do you know wrestling history at all? My God, there's been so many great football players that have been terrific pro wrestlers. Could Tom Brady do what wrestlers do, and could wrestlers do what Tom Brady does? Who wins this debate?
Well, Tom Brady can definitely do what a wrestler can do, but I can't see a wrestler going in and winning 5 or 6 Super Bowls. That's for sure. Tom Brady, he's a man, but I don't think he can get into the ring. He can't even take a sack. He can't take hits, but he can definitely sling that ball.
Yeah,
but he is. We got an opportunity to see. I don't know if you saw last night in Vegas. Him and Max Crosby got into a verbal altercation in the parking lot at some casino or hotel. They had a private meeting because Tom was trying to convince him to stay with the Raiders, and somebody caught him on tape with a little verbal altercation in the parking lot. So I wouldn't want to go against Max Crosby. So maybe Tom Brady does have the heart to go into professional wrestling, or maybe they were both trying to pull off a little professional wrestling to get the deal done.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think there's a lot more likelihood that Tom Brady could wrestle a couple of matches than somebody in WWE quarterbacking a Super Bowl championship team. Sorry, guys. Sorry. But that's how it goes. Speaking of going, we'll say goodbye to Coach here as we head into our final break. Coach, plug all your stuff real quick before I get you out of here.
Yeah, Ring Classics. We got Jeff Jarrett's Asylum Weekend coming up in May, and there's going to be a big announcement about the programs going to be anchoring that weekend. So stay tuned.
All right, there you go. Coach Rosey, thanks for being with me, brother. Appreciate it.
Yep, see you later.
All right, we'll see you guys on the other side of the break as we wrap up this week's edition of the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN. We'll be right back.
Nevada's essential workers keep our state running. Now, One Nevada Credit Union wants to help you own a piece of the state you support. Eligible home buyers can receive up to $20,000 in down payment assistance to use towards your down payment, closing costs, or eligible loan expenses. Whether you're a first-time buyer or looking for your next home, if you work in healthcare, education, law enforcement, or construction, this could be your key to home ownership. Don't wait. Visit onenevada.org today.
Membership required. Loans subject to credit approval. Program eligibility and terms apply. Equal housing lender.
Nevada's essential workers keep our state running. Now, One Nevada Credit Union wants to help you own a piece of the state you support. Eligible home buyers can receive up to $20,000 in down payment assistance to use towards your down payment, closing costs, or eligible loan expenses. Whether you're a first-time buyer or looking for your next home, if you work in healthcare, education, law enforcement, or construction, this could be your key to home ownership. Don't wait. Visit onenevada.org today.
Membership required. Loans subject to credit approval. Program eligibility and terms apply. Equal housing lender.
Empower. Ellie here is getting the sleeve she's always dreamed of. She worked with Empower and planned for her next move. So she got good at money. Now she can be a little bad. Oh, by the way, you spelled journey wrong. No worries. She can afford the cover-up too. Ooh, check out my tat. It says, invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Spring savings start early at Lowe's. Get a Cobalt 24-volt max leaf blower for just $99. It's powerful, lightweight, and ready to go. Plus, get 4 bags of Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil for just $10. Don't wait. Get everything you need to start on your spring projects today. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/4. Soil offer excludes Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
1015 FM KDAWN.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
All right, final segment of the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN. And I got to tell you, it's been a long night. I don't know why I couldn't get any sleep. I think I was out for about an hour and a half, and I had some weird dreams when I did fall asleep. It was a tough night. But, of course, got up at 4 this morning to make sure I was down at the station so I could catch the hockey game while I was getting ready for the show. And it was definitely worth it. Congratulations to Team USA, your new Olympic champions. Way to go, guys. And by the way, Jack Hughes, man, dude, going to have to head to the dentist. That high stick did a little damage to the teeth. Not good. Some other little interesting stories that popped up along the way. Ryan Ward has now taken over all creative for Raw and SmackDown. WWE is calling it a recent adjustment, trying to apparently unify the stories that are going on between Raw and SmackDown and have one consistent voice at the top. So Ryan Ward now gets to be the man that all of you get to throw your arrows and slings at. So have fun with that. We also had a former employee, Caleb Braxton, now known as Caleb Becker, who came out and had a few complaints after she was unceremoniously dumped by WWE. First complaining that she was not allowed to speak anything political and that she would get in trouble for doing so when she did it. And I think that you guys got to understand when you're working for a private company, they're going to tell you what you can and can't do to keep your job. WWE does not want to get involved in this stuff. Everybody was flipping out about that promo that Triple H did at the White House. They were promoting the Presidential Physical Fitness Award and testing coming back. Are we against fitness over there now? What's going on? But WWE doesn't want their characters and their employees really getting heavily associated in politics. Now with Thunder Rosa coming out and saying what she said, now we got Thunder Rosa. We've had CM Punk, Hangman Adam Page, and Brody King, and this is only going to get crazier. So, genie's out of the bottle there. Have fun with that. But Kayla Braxton also saying, along with Jesse the Body Ventura, who also had stated this earlier, that they think that Donald Trump should not be in the WWE Hall of Fame. First off, I'm just going to say I think the celebrity wing is stupid anyway. I get why it's there because you're trying to add mainstream appeal and to the Hall of Fame ceremonies. So you bring in some quote unquote normal celebrities. But her claim was it was because of the Epstein files. I don't think she's read them. I'm not going to get into it, but I just, Kayla, take a minute and check it out. That's all I'll say. Just check it out. Don't listen to Rachel Maddow and Joe Scarborough. Actually look for yourself. So Kayla Braxton out there making trouble, but that was a cup of coffee right there. Good luck to you, sweetie. We'll say goodbye. Kevin Nash also got in trouble. Hey, Kevin's a rather outspoken guy. We all know this. But he, during his podcast, was talking about Javon Evans and said, he's a little bit too Mr. Bojangles for me. I wish he was a little bit more urban. Really? Big Kev caught some backlash for that. Not a surprise. And his apology made things worse that he had to pull it down. Please, just think about everybody, what you're saying before you say it. Not just professional wrestlers, everybody. Look, when I come in here, I've pretty much practiced a lot of what I wanted to say. Just be smart. Come on. Mr. Bojangles. Really, Kevin? I know he's sorry he did it, but come on. Look, you don't have to pigeonhole black wrestlers into, being street thugs or anything like that. Why can't they just, be a nice, clean cut, nice person? I don't know, but all right. So Kevin Nash thinks everybody's got to be more urban. Good for him. And then finally, we had some discussion about Bayley, as once again, people are speculating, should Bayley stay or go? When her contract's up, I believe she's under a year now-ish before she would be allowed to leave WWE. And I'm just going to tell you right now, you can just tell that she is so tired of being put in the natty hole. Not, I should say Natalia, and being the mother hen and taking care of everybody. I'm sure that's not what she wants. And I'm really sure, I think I could say this with the utmost confidence, that she wants to be doing stuff with her best friend, Mercedes Moné. Who could blame her? Well, you always feel bad for Bayley because you feel like she's been treated like the fourth horsewoman and just not deserved. And she's been a multiple-time world champion, just a terrific role model for girls. What'd she do wrong? But she's one of those people that may be getting chased out by this new wave that's coming up into the main rosters of WWE. So I wouldn't blame her if she decided to take a hike. But whatever works. Bayley's awesome. look forward to seeing what choice Bailey makes down the road. And speaking of down the road, I'm going to be headed down the road because even though I'm exhausted, I'm going to be headed to work. Oh boy. So if you want to go bet some sports, come on and see me at the link. I'll be over there at the Sportsbook. But I want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Mark Hoke Show. I want to thank Brian R. Solomon for coming on. And once again, his book, is Irresistible Force, The Life and Times of Gorilla Monsoon. Make sure you pick that up. And give us a follow on X at Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, The Mark Hoke Show. And, we're getting some pretty good feedback from some of the social media posts we're putting up. Really appreciate it. Even if you're insulting me, it's cool. We are thrilled to hear from you. So hop on there, check out all the stuff we've got going on our social media, and we will see you next week. And by the way, it looks like we may be bringing back our Thursday afternoon show. We were doing a little late night before, but looks like we'll be on Thursdays on the live stream. So we'll have an announcement on that probably next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Mark Hoke Show. USA, baby. That's how you do it. Gold medal. We'll see you next time.
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join the Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.
Want more of the gaming perks you love?